on the post, I talk about defense in the world of atoms and in the world of bits. And then, the world of atoms, I then break down into macro and micro. So macro, basically, yeah, being fairly conventional things, like infrastructure, resilience, basically, yeah, like how do we, yeah, make our society more resilient and less vulnerable to things like supply chain disruptions. Like basically, yeah, how do we make all kinds of things less harmful at a macro scale? Micro defense basically means bio. And like during COVID, we had a pretty big test run of humanity's bio capabilities. And we saw, I think, definitely some successes, though also quite a lot of failures, including quite a lot of failures among traditional institutions. And so the question is basically, like, what can we do to try to move the needle on bio and like actually bring us closer to a world where humanity is like much more resilient against like bio threats, like particularly airborne diseases, because those are the biggest risk by default, and in a way that like people are actually going to accept, right? So it's like, the ideal is basically infrastructure that's just purely passive and people don't even need to think about it. And then the much less ideal is like things that are maybe at most as annoying as toothbrushing. And then the thing that we absolutely don't want to do is like the kind of stuff that we ended up trying back in 2020 and 2021. So that's all the world of atoms, right? And then in the world of bits, I made what my own kind of artificial split between what I call cyber defense and what I call info defense, where cyber defense is basically defense in situations where it's it's easy for reasonable people to agree who the attacker is. Right, but there's still a kind of last mile challenge in blocking attackers. Right. So one example of this is just like, if you have a crypto wallet, you do not want your crypto wallet to be hacked, right? Or you do not want, like when you're sending money to someone, for someone to be able to like somehow slip in a totally incorrect address. You want like DeFi smart contracts to be secure. You want your operating system to be secure. You want your hardware to be secure. We want the operating system and the hardware of like mainstream like society-wide infrastructure to be secure. And then the word info defense is defense where it's actually harder, I mean, even for reasonable people to agree who the attacker is, right? And so like one of the ways in which like the mainstream world talks about this is like fighting misinformation, though of course like a lot of the time that frame by itself like has a bit of an I would call centralized and anti-democratic aspect, because it ends up kind of pre-assuming some group of people who know on behalf of everyone else what the misinformation is. But and so for me, the really valuable thing to work on is basically approaches that can adjust the environments to make misinformation and scams and similar things much less effective and much less likely to hit people, but in a way that is as minimally dependent as possible on centralization. So those are like basically the four kinds of examples, right? And I think within the crypto space, we obviously do a lot of work on cyber defense, right? Blockchains are a cyber defense technology. Zero knowledge proofs are a cyber defense technology. All of the work that we do around hardware wallets, multi-sig wallets, smart contract security, increasingly starting to do formal verification of like zero knowledge proofs of clients. That's all cybersecurity. And then even in the crypto space, we have these info defense challenges. So one big one is just like protecting people from all kinds of crypto scams, and that's something that wallets have been starting to like more and more see as being within their field of responsibility. So, like, essentially, there's this really nice tie-in between things that a lot of us in Ethereum care about already, and a broader vision that basically says, look, let's try to create a world where the technological landscape is one in which all kinds of attacks become much harder to accomplish, but in a way that does not empower, like, very large single centralized actors that are responsible for having backdoor keys into everything, and like, acting on arbitrary opinions about who the attackers are, and like, attacking to prevent other attacks, and these kinds of things. And if we have this technology, then like, we can have a world that is both like, safer and more open and free, and also like, more robust in the face of diversity of thought and disagreements than it otherwise would be. So this is the core theme, and there's a lot of different ways to expand on each of the each of those four categories, and like, a lot of the speakers like, that we have, and a lot of the topics that we cover on DX Day are going to be about those issues, and about the progress that's been made in those areas since then.
Amazing, amazing. So like, I guess to summarize a little bit, right? Like, there were a lot of discussions happening last year and earlier this year around like the invention of AI and the potential risks of AI and the potential benefits, right? So like, the kind of it kind of broke down into more or less two camps. One saying we need to pause AI, we need to really think about it. Like, we're not just creating a new technology, we're creating a new species, a new mind, and there are serious risks here. And the other camp saying like, technology has historically been super good for us. It's only brought net good things for society, and we should continue to accelerate. And like, this philosophy here kind of takes a middle ground where it says like, yes, technology has historically been very good for us. We should continue to accelerate technology, but AI is slightly different, and like, some of the technologies that we want to accelerate do have negative downsides to them.